Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Now some of you may have guessed this was going to happen from what I said in my Sunday chat. But basically this is the start of a new series. I appreciate that some of the viewers of this channel are even professional growers in some cases, but are long-term experienced growers. But also there are people who've only just started growing orchids and are new to the whole game, the whole process. And this is aimed at those in particular, and in addition to that, those who just like Phalaenopsis orchids. At the end of the day, they are the start of many people's collections. And some people go on to grow all sorts of weird and wonderful orchids and forget the humble Phalaenopsis and end up with collections with none in, whereas they may have started with some. So this goes back to those beginnings really. And this series, there's a playlist to go with this where the video will be loaded when I've done it. And it's going to follow these orchids through. Now these are what I call store-bought Phalaenopsis, because in certain supermarkets you could go and buy these. Don't ask me which ones because I don't know. But as part of this series you might even get a special treat that I've got to organise. Having spoken to Lynn on the phone yesterday, Muggins here, lost the toss. Basically we are hoping to organise a trip for the Wessex Orchid Society to this nursery where these have come from, to have a look round all of their processes, the way they grow, a tour. Now I don't know whether I'll be allowed to actually film. If I can't film, I'm sure I'll be allowed to take some photos, but even that might not be allowed, so this remains to be seen. All the people that I know have been there before are not the people that do YouTube stuff. So I may well be the first one to walk in the door and ask, which I will do. So as part of this series you may even get a tour around the nursery. We will be having one, but whether I can film or not, as I said, I don't know. So this is for Phalaenopsis. This nursery is trade only. There is no retail side, but they have an online shop where you can buy some of their orchids. It's a very limited shop in as much as in most cases you can't say I'll have that one. You've got choices, like you can have Lucky Dip, or you can have white, you can choose white ones, or you can have pinks and purples in this case. So in this selection, which is 4 basic Mini-Phalaenopsis, that's what I've chosen. These work out at £8 each. They're very, very cheap orchids. I'm hoping they're not cheap and cheerful when we get them out. So let's see if we can get this box open. It's a very strange shaped box for orchids to come in, but they are Mini-Phalaenopsis. As we say, there will be a certain way that this box opens. I think I've got it now. Have we got well packed orchids? Yes, we have. So individually packed and taped in place so that they don't rock around. I'll just snip the tape so that these can come out as individual packages. And we'll look and see what I've got. I chose Lucky Dip, so I haven't got a clue what colour these are going to be. Not a clue. I would imagine some of each. I hope there's a white one in there because I do actually like white Phalaenopsis. But we shall see. So we will get out one. 2, 3, we've got some paperwork, and 4. I said I liked white ones. So in this we have a white one in here. So these are held in with an elastic band at the bottom, which you just lift that off basically. Be easier to cut it. I don't need elastic bands, so we'll snip it. And then they're in a sort of paper sleeve, but with any luck I can just run the scissors up and it will just tear up the side in one go. And it won't actually, the grain of the paper is going across rather than up. Nonetheless, orchid number 1. There's a few of the tiny little buds have come off possibly in transport, but given the number we've got, I'm not particularly worried about a couple of little buds coming off. So this little orchid is in bark and a bit of cocoa chips. I can tell it's been in this pot a while. How can you tell it's been in the pot a while? Algae, which I don't like. It's hydrated, it's got good roots, and there are some growing root tips in that pot. We've got 3 spikes, and not all of the buds are open on any of those spikes. So the blooms on this are going to last a nice long time. They are delicate little white blooms. And thank goodness, because I really don't like the white ones with the red centres, the red lip. So white with a bit of delicate spotting and a bit of coloration. Lovely little plant. Good set of leaves. Got the two seedling leaves followed by 2 quite small leaves and then another pair. Then the latest pair and the latest leaf coming out. And I've just noticed something I'm not happy about. It's got a terminal spike, which could mean we will lose the plant once it's finished blooming. It depends what it's going to do, but basically what's happened is a spike has come out of the centre of the plant. That's where the next leaf should come from, and having produced a spike in that place, I don't think it will produce a leaf. So we'll have to see what happens. That'll be an interesting one to follow, because sometimes a vigorous Phalaenopsis with a terminal spike, once the blooms are finished and everything, it produces basal growths. You could sort of call them cakeys, but they're not really, they're basal growths. And you start some new plants from the base. So that may happen, it may not. I hope they're not all like that. I think they're relying on most of their purchases being by people who wouldn't know that was a problem, perhaps. And you may not have known that's a problem, but now you do. As I said, it just it takes away the ability of the plant to produce a new leaf. And without a new leaf, it's not going to grow. So it is a problem. It's called a terminal spike for 2 reasons. First of all, it is terminal in as much as it comes out the top of the plant. And secondly, it can be the end of the plant. Terminal. Right, and now we have pink. In. Right, so what have we got here then? Not so many roots this time. I'm going to cut that off because it's dead anyway. And at the bottom of the pot. Right, so not so many roots in the pot this time. There is still some algae in there. It's in the same media. The 2 seedling leaves have died. and we'll probably both just lift off. Yeah, there we go, that's good. It's better if leaves on Phalaenopsis come off on their own, because what happens is they callus over, and when the leaf drops off, the callus has already sealed the wound, so no infections or anything can get in. This has some new growths, new roots growing from the base, which I can see. It has reasonable roots in the pot. Some of them are obscured by algae. What I might do with these is, we will see, is just lift them out of the pot, not effectively repot them, just clean the pots up, get the algae off, because most of the algae will be on the pot, and then put them back in. Anyway, a good set of leaves on there. There's the next two up from the seedling ones, followed by two nearly full-size leaves, and again more full-size leaves, and this time no terminal spike. So we've got two spikes this time, and delicate pink with stripy markings. Yeah, very attractive, and branching spikes. Yeah, so we've got spikes with branches on with buds that haven't opened yet. So this time it's a branching spike. Actually the other one was a branching spike as well. I didn't notice it at first, I was more concerned with that flipping terminal spike. But yes, these are branching spikes as well. So we've got white, now we've got pink. I wonder what's next then. Just having a look at these cards. These are basic care guides. I don't know why they put two in. Orchids, it says orchids. It ought to really say the genus, didn't it, really, because not all orchids would grow like this. Orchids love bright indirect light, especially on east or west facing room. Keeping a consistent environment for the orchid is key, so don't place near any drafts or radiators. One surprising thing to bear in mind is that some types of fruit, such as bananas, release a gas that can stunt orchid growth. We suggest placing your orchid away from fruit, bowls of fruit. Watering. We highly recommend the use of the ice cube method. That's where we stop reading. Sorry. I understand why, if you're a total beginner, watering orchids without drowning them and killing them is one of the things that you have to master, and it can take a bit of mastery. And a company called Just Add Ice decided that a good way of stopping people over watering their orchids was to actually get them to place a couple of ice cubes on the top of the pot, which would then slowly melt and gently water the orchid with freezing cold, ice cold water, which they would naturally get in the wild, wouldn't they? But what it does do is limit the amount of water that goes in the pot. That's the good bit. So rather than actually add the ice cubes to the pot, why not add the ice cubes to a container so that you know how much water you've got and wait for it to warm up. Don't put ice cold water on orchids. But as soon as I read that, I thought if we ever go there, I will have a word about that on the grounds that I will ask them if they put ice cubes on their orchids before they sell them. The company Just Add Ice, oh what a beauty. The company Just Add Ice makes its living from killing orchids. It sells them to you, to people who really don't know any better, can't be bothered to look anything up and just follow the instructions. And they keep putting freezing cold water onto their orchids, which basically stunts the roots if nothing else and can often kill those roots, and the plant dies, and then you go and buy another one from them. Duh. What about that then? That is a beauty. So I'm just hooking the bark out from the cracks of the leaves, but we've still got some in the sleeve. We will put that back in the pot. You can see where it's come from. There we go. I'm well pleased with that one. Well pleased. So what have we got then? We have a pot this time with no algae. Yeah, we have a good root system. There's not many actively growing roots, but we do have a bit of algae. These are one-sided algae pots. They've been put somewhere with bright light coming from one side. Because there's only algae on a small part of the pot. None round here. Anyway, again, the seedling leaves are still on this plant, buried down in the media. And then it's grown on some good leaves. And we have non-branching spikes on these. 2 spikes, no terminal spikes, just ordinary spikes, proper spikes. And a lovely shade of yellow with a deep yellow in the lip with that very pronounced couple of white bits that really stand out against those yellows. That is a little beauty. I didn't check, but I know that some of their orchids are actually fragrant. They're unlikely to be giving off fragrance having just come out of the dark. Maybe they will later. No, there's no fragrance on these showing at the moment. That leaves one. So if we've got white, pink and yellow, what do you think this is? Purple? Patterned? Splashy pattern? I don't like them so much. Well, one way to find out. Let's have a look-see. I like the way these have been wrapped. That's actually quite good. Oh, and something else I've just noticed, because that one's upside down. These are actually air cone pots. These are good pots. They seem pretty sturdy. So as I said, I might just pop the orchids out gently and just clean those pots up and put them back in the same pot. It's a good sized pot for that size plant. You know, not too big, not too small. So what have we got now then? Purple, you reckon? Well, I can see through the paper. I know it's not purple. Oh, and the other thing is, as this will show, there is no guarantee that you won't get 2 the same colour. So we've got another white one, and this one's recently been watered because it's quite damp. But been lost. So virtually no algae this time. Reasonable roots. I wouldn't say it's a brilliant root system, but it's plenty good enough for the size of the plant. And this time we have white with some nice markings and a coppery bronzy colour in the lip. This spike here has been flat. Yeah? So it's very flat. All the blooms are in a flat plane. It wouldn't naturally grow like that, but nonetheless we have a spike, a branch, and we have plenty of buds still to open. So, and again on this side, plenty of buds still to open. Double spike, no terminal spike. So a second white, but quite different to the first one. You know, the colouring in the lip is quite good. And also on this one, you've got these markings. Let's see if I can get to show them. They're under the sepal on the petal, little tiny spots. Yeah, quite attractive. Good stuff. No sign of any pests or anything, so that's good. I'd get in the car and take them back if there was pests. As I said, this nursery is only up the road. It's about 6 miles, maybe 7. Right, so if I can get all these to point at the camera. Actually, no, it's not worth getting the camera off. I've held them up to the camera. So we've got white with a terminal spike that may not have a long future, but we can see. But it'll be good for the series to see what happens with it long term. And then we've got our pink with nice stripy markings. Nice attractive pink one. And then we've got that gorgeous yellow. I'm well impressed with that one. And then we've got a second white one, but with a totally different coloured lip. So those are our 4 Mini-Phalaenopsis orchids. In some cases, not necessarily from this place, I don't know, but some of the Mini-Phalaenopsis that come from the Netherlands and Germany, the sort of EU mass producers, you know, huge mass producers, they're stunted due to chemicals and hormones and things, and they're not genuine Mini-Phalaenopsis. If you can keep them alive and grow them on, they start growing bigger leaves and they become a normal size one over the years. They're not genuine minis. I suspect these are the genuine article. You do get a variety of leaves on Mini-Phalaenopsis. Some of them are very long and thin, some of them are quite oval shaped. But nonetheless, a good splash of colour. Now, I don't know what to do. I've got a couple of pretty manky Phalaenopsis out on the kitchen windowsill. They're ones I've had quite a long time. They're nothing special. I might bring them out here so that these can go on the kitchen windowsill with the other reasonable Phalaenopsis and the ones from Hannah. I look after them for her, they're not strictly speaking mine. That way they would be in the kitchen, and I go in the kitchen an awful lot. I cook out there, I make rather a lot of coffees. So I would see them far more frequently than I would if they were out here. Yeah? The kettle is right by the windowsill. Yeah? Washing up, cooking, it's all just there. So I'd like to have these in the kitchen. So that's what will probably happen. So there we go, a whole new series. We will do regular updates on these, and any activities, like if I take them out of the pot and get rid of the algae, any of that sort of thing will be filmed and it will go in the playlist, and we will build up a whole sequence of videos based on these 4 plants, as long as I keep them alive. So yeah. And as I said, that was £32 with free postage tracked. Yeah? So they were posted yesterday, they arrived today. And no postage or shipping charges of any sort. Very well packed, very well presented. Pity about the care guide. Luckily, we know better, don't we? Anyway, so those are they. That's today's video, an unboxing video. We haven't had one for a long time, very long time actually, because I haven't bought anything online for a very long time. The last few orchids that have come in have been bought direct, so you know, they come home in a little bag or something, you know, with me. Yeah, I'm pleased with those. I would happily buy more from that place at those prices. As I said, the only bit that a lot of people possibly wouldn't like is the fact that I didn't get to choose my colours. They've chosen them for me. Yeah? As I said, the choices in this range, which is 4, 6 or 8, with no decorative pots or arrangements or anything as a gift, they do all that as well, but just a plain orchid in a pot. £32 for 4. Which is £8 each. They're a good £8 plant, you know. You pay a lot more than that for those at other places. So Lawrence Hobbs will be knocking those out at 20 quid at least, I expect. And Burnham's. So yeah, very well pleased. And as I said, every one of these plants has got a reasonable root system. You're starting off running, not with a rescue like you are in a lot of cases from the EU mass produced stuff. So yeah. good stuff, and I hope this series is going to be useful for people. I will keep my mind on the fact that there are beginners that watch this channel, which is what this series will mainly be about. That doesn't mean to say we won't get into more in-depth care, because we will, but basically these are beginners orchids. I'll put a link to the website in the description for this video, so that you can go and have a look at the site if you wish to do so. They only post to UK mainland. Yeah, that's your lot. So not Northern Ireland and not outside the UK, I believe, but it'll say on the website anyway. So, and all of their packages, whether they're gifts or in ceramic pots or whatever, in little arrangements of 3 or 4 plants in an arrangement, they do all that sort of thing. They're all grown in the UK in this nursery, so there's nothing to do with imports or anything. If I go there, I will find out where their source is. In other words, are these their own hybrids from their own plants? Yeah, where they've produced seeds and then grown them on, or do they import the flasks to order? Because you can do that if you're trade. You can get in touch with the mass producers and say, I want 20 flasks of yellow Mini-Phalaenopsis, and you will get the flasks. You then deflask them and grow them on in your nursery. That might be what they're doing. I don't specifically know, but if we visit, I will find out. So there we go, some new plants. And the fact that a lot of snobby growers call these orchid weeds and think, oh, they're not proper orchids, they're not for us proper orchid growers. Well, yes they are. They're perfectly good orchids, beautiful colours. These are nice clean plants, they've been well grown, good root systems. What more could you ask for that price? Quite honestly, what more could you ask at any price? See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.